Welcome back to Online Darts. We are here in Amsterdam for the World Series Finals, and we've got Matt as always. Matt, first of all, appreciate your time. How are you? It's been a while.
Yeah, well. Been a busy summer, but good to be back here in Amsterdam.
Yeah, look, we'll touch on the World Series first as we're here. Overall, how would you assess this year's World Series from a PDC point of view?
I think what's been the big plus for us this year has been the crowds. We've seen bigger numbers in Australia and New Zealand, bigger numbers in Poland, bigger numbers in Denmark, bigger numbers even in Bahrain going back to January. And then of course New York was special. So I think what we're starting to do now is build the brand in those territories. Really get people used to the events coming to their country or their city, and turning up for them, looking out for them in the diary, and making sure that they secure their tickets. So that's always a long-term play, but we're starting to see the results for it.
Has the darts been slightly disappointing in terms of the home qualifiers or whatever we're calling them? That this year, for the first time, they haven't really tested the PDC pros.
I think the challenge is that the top guys are playing each other every week, and they're playing each other at a level that most players in the world can't compete with. Now it's all right if I could put tour card holders up against them, and other pros and stuff like that, but it's very, very difficult for these local qualifiers to turn up and deliver. Yeah, there are some instances where you'd like to see a few more 6-4s, 6-5s and the odd upset and stuff like that. But I think it's very difficult in a race to 11 to say to a guy who's qualified from essentially a sort of semi-pro, sort of amateurish background to, you're expected to go up there and play against a guy who at his worst is going to average like 93, 94. It's going to be difficult for them to do that. So I think that's, I get what you're saying, and there haven't been that many upsets, but I think it's going to be a challenge for local players to do that. So that's why we're looking at how we can improve domestic circuits in different countries, because we want players to be ready to step up to that stage. So that's the process we're going through now with our affiliates and our local organisers about how we can generate more activity in those territories to stimulate the local scene.
I say, obviously, the Oceanic region in particular, that's always been a really strong region away from the PDC, but this year I think it's the first time since 2017 that not one local one got through, which has always been a kind of stronghold for them.
I think in New Zealand, I think it was okay. I think Australia was poor, if I'm honest, but I think in New Zealand, I think that for a small country, people-wise, country geographically, but I thought they held their end up and competed.
I agree.
But yeah, Australia's been that production line, hasn't it? Simon, Kyle, Damon, we're Corey for a while as well. We need to see who the next cab off the rank there is, and at the moment I'm not sure there is one.
Well, it's interesting because we did on the live lounge, we spoke about this, and we get actually quite a lot from the Oceanic region, like messaging and stuff like that, and the domestic scene seems very divided and very split politics. It's not more than it's ever been.
I don't think it's in a particularly good state at the moment, if I'm honest. Australia's a strong darts country.
Yeah.
We've got a great broadcast partner there. We get great crowds there. And, I say historically in the context of the PDC, it's produced strong players. So that is definitely something that we're going to have to look at.
Obviously, moving forward, I know you've released the calendar and we'll talk on that more in a bit, but the actual World Series next year, I know we haven't got the actual cities. Are we looking at anywhere new? Because again, whispers on the grapevine were potentially a couple, one, maybe two new countries coming.
Yeah, we've got one that we're working on. Yeah, we've got one. I mean, the thing is with releasing the World Series is we like to do it separately because there's a lot more pieces to the jigsaw that need to go into place, and also we're dealing with different time zones, we're dealing with different demands from local promoters and local venues for releasing information, so that tends to have a life of its own. But there is still one that we're hoping to get over the line for 2025. Yeah.
Would that be Asia being the strength? Being the strength of what the Asian tour has done this year.
Yeah, it would be in that Asian region. Yeah.
No, it was just interesting to see where we go with that. Last time we spoke was just before the match play, and it was record world numbers, record Premier League numbers. Have you had the numbers from the match play yet? And has that stacked up?
Yeah, and it has. And it's. The thing is, you don't want to sit here and just sound like you're rolling out cliches and lies, but the numbers they're huge. The World Match Play final was the most watched World Match Play match in the history of the World Match Play. Every other night, I think there was one night that was down, there was something else on, there's maybe some golf or something that split the audience, but every other session, the figures were great. And looking ahead to the Grand Prix and the Grand Slam, looking at here, the ticket sales numbers are fantastic, and it's just showing that interest level that we sort of reached around sort of 9 to 12 months ago, is being sustained.
Match play itself, we all know it's a fabulous tournament, but Luke Humphries, I'm going to say domination right now. It's just continuing. People said people wouldn't dominate like Taylor did, Van Gerwen did, but right now Luke Humphries is doing exactly what they did.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was the Premier League final away from being the concurrent holder of every Sky event.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Not great. I'll leave that.
Yeah, no, well, yeah,
like you,
yeah,
Phil, but you know.
Yeah, no, well, yeah,
but he was.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's remarkable. You know, and I don't know. I think Luke's great, and he's playing to such a high level. But should he win all those events? Have the others got to step up? I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I think it sounds strange. It doesn't really, in a nice possible way, it doesn't really bother me who wins, because we're about the product and the event, you know, and it's up to the players themselves to find that out. So I think it's great that there's somebody there now for them to chase, and Luke's just going to keep setting the bar for them.
Yeah, no, 100%. That he says it himself. He goes, well, I haven't done this yet, and I want this one, I want this. So his levels are still there.
Like Michael was 10 years ago.
Correct.
Wanted to do everything for the first time. You know, Luke referred to winning the New Zealand event. It was really important for him to win that. He wanted to win the World Series event. He had a great trip down there with his dad. His dad had always wanted to go to Sydney, you know, so they had a nice week there, and obviously he won in New Zealand, and he talked about how important it was for him to win his World Series event as another one to cross off, you know, his first World Series event. And I think that, you know, Luke Littler's in the same boat as well. These lads are desperate to do everything for the first time, which is great, because it makes them so hungry.
Yeah, obviously on Luke, he got a nightmare draw there, the World Match Play. But did we learn something about Luke? In perhaps that this is probably the first blip he's had, a big first round loss. Yes, he's played.
I mean, he's 17. He lost in the first round of the World Match Play. Is that a blip? You know, I mean,
does anyone else know? But
there's levels, isn't there?
Yeah.
You know, but his career is going to be so long and so successful that it's just a learning. Everything's a learning curve for him, you know. And you have to learn to lose to be able to learn to win.
Yeah.
So he's, you know, I don't think it's like going to have knocked him off his stride or anything like that. You know, it was just he had a very difficult match. Michael played really well, and he came out the other side of it. I think one thing that you're seeing in darts at the moment, and I think the players, they understand this, and it must be a very hard thing to learn. But you can't win everything.
Agreed.
You know, but what's been really good at the moment is I'm reading a lot of players' quotes and listening to a lot of players' interviews and stuff like that, and they're talking about how they're happy their game's in a good position and stuff like that, because even if they're losing quarter-final, last 16, semi-final, whatever it is, they're happy with how they're playing, and they understand that as much as you want to win every trophy, you know, I appreciate I'm contradicting myself, because Humphrey...
Yeah, I know, yeah.
But you generally, you can't go out and win everything, so it's about getting your game in a place which can set you up to win trophies.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And a resurgence for Peter Wright as well. There were a lot of question marks. Exactly, a lot of question marks, but he doesn't know when he's beaten, does he?
He doesn't. Yeah, he's generally beaten in the first half of the year.
Yeah, and then to come...
But no, I don't know. I mean, Peter's... Look, obviously, you know... He's of an age where the travelling is going to be a bit tiring and stuff like that, but his enthusiasm and his passion for the game is still there. His desire to perfect himself is still there. It's so funny. It's just great to see him like going out there banging in 100 averages on the Euro Tour, winning matches, because I think he quite revels in being written off.
Yeah, I agree. The calendar has been released for 2025. Even more darts. First of all, the Euro Tour. We've got an extra one.
Yeah.
How much more room is there for the Euro Tour to grow? Because again, you can
have a look at the calendar yourself.
You can confirm or deny that. Yeah. Was that 15th one close?
But yeah, I mean, look, there's lots of potential venues for Euro Tour events, and there's lots of reasons why things can't always fit in. If you look at how packed the schedule is, essentially sometimes we go to a venue and we'll say it's this date, and they'll say we haven't got that date, and we'll say right, we can't do it then.
Yeah.
Because the knock-on effect of moving one venue might move 3 other venues, which I might then move 3 others, and you just run out of time and you run out of space. So sometimes it is there are actually a number of venues on the calendar for next year where if we weren't there that weekend, we wouldn't be there at all. You know, because there's certain immovables in the calendar. There's certain events that have to take place. You know, Premier League has to be Thursdays in the spring. You know, UK Open first weekend of March. You know, the ones that are fixed every year. So that then dictates the open positions in the calendar for other events. So if there's certain venues that aren't able to be as flexible, and good luck to them because they're obviously popular venues, then we have to say no.
Could we see a point where the Euro Tour actually overtakes the Pro Tour in terms of days, obviously?
Pretty much has, hasn't it?
I think so, but go even further and become like almost the dominant tour, where the Pro Tour was always considered the bread and butter. Could the Euro Tour...
The Pro Tour, you know, although all 128 players have the chance to qualify for the Euro Tour events. The Pro Tours give all 128 players that direct entry, and that's why we've increased the number of those events to increase the opportunities for those players. You know, so it's I think it's difficult to say that we'll just have a year full of Euro Tours, because it'll be too much and it'll be too restrictive for a number of players.
On the Pro Tours, obviously that's gone up, and I was reading social media, and people are seeing it as a double-edged sword. One are looking at it like you are, it's more opportunities for everyone to play, and then the flip of it is being said that it's more opportunities for the top guys to miss loads during the Premier League and still have more opportunities to get to tournaments.
So go and ask world number 128 if he wants to play in a Pro Tour with 2 of the top 10 in the world or 10 of the top 10 in the world, and then talk to me about opportunity. I mean, people will find a negative in everything, won't they? It's like extra events, extra money for the players, extra opportunity for all players of any standard to qualify for something. Yeah. And someone can find a negative in that. I mean, it's frightening. Well, I just won't do any. Nice and easy. I just won't do any, you know?
No, I completely get it. And on the tour, the way it is going and the way it is increasing, is the end goal to almost be like tennis, where you may have an event on one part of the world and an event on in another, and players choose whether... Is that the end goal?
I would like that. That would mean we were a genuinely global tour. But I don't know if we'll get there in my time with the PDC, in every player you're going to see at this event's time with the PDC.
Just bringing this back up after the sound checking. So to get to that would be obviously incredible, where we could have tour events in America, Asia, Australia and New Zealand.
I think in order to get to that stage, we've got to have more players from the rest of the world. Yeah. You know, if you look at the moment, if I put on an event in Johannesburg on the same week as an event in Botafogo and said to all the players, which one do you want to go to? I don't think I'm going to get the greatest response in the world. But if we had players from different parts of the world, you know, so we're a long way away from that as a sport in terms of being fully professional on a global level. You know, you talk about the World Series, a lot of the countries that we go to are nowhere near having a professional setup. You know, I mean, it's going to take a long, long time in, say, like the Middle East. If you look at, you look at Bahrain, you know, what do you expect from players in that region? You know, as much as we can give them a limited number of opportunities around World Series, World Cup, World Championship, it's not going to be enough to get to say, for somebody to then say, oh, I'm going to go and become a pro. You know, look how difficult it is for people like, you know, Hal Puha, Christian Perez, you know, those guys, to Jeff Smith's another one from you know, another part of the world in recent years, who they have to make a very tough decision about their life and how they're going to take it. And it's either like, right, I might have one shot, so I'm going to give it everything I've got, but who's going to pay for that? You know, and then have I put my real career on hold? It's so difficult. It's so difficult, and we are very Eurocentric at the moment. You know, so it's going to take a long time, but it will be great to get there.
On the bit of who's going to pay for that, obviously we know the money keeps going up at the top end at a higher rate. Are we going to see more come into the bottom end of the tour to hope to prop that up? Not prop that up the wrong way, but you know what I mean?
Certainly adding the extra events in is doing that, you know, because that's giving genuine money-winning opportunities to players at the middle to bottom end of the tour. But also we're very conscious of that as we look to review our prize funds. And if you look historically, we haven't just done that. You know, we've got the top prizes to a level, but the guarantees have also gone up as well. So, you know, we want to make it that last 32, last 64, whatever the entry-level prize money is, we want to make it that you know, the qualifying for X number of events across the year is going to give you enough opportunities to say you can become full-time. We estimate at the moment about half the tour, you know, probably full-time in that respect in terms of earning a living. So we want to get that to 128, and I think we'll get there certainly much more quickly than that last scenario we talked about with, you know, 2 events in the cities or whatever.
It's interesting, that half being professional. What do you foresee the timescale being to get 75%, that next step of?
I don't think that long, 3 to 5 years. You know, I don't think that long. You know, I think that the way we're trying to take this sport, the money that we're looking to invest in prize funds will get us to the point where, you know, if you're a tour card holder, you'll be able to say, you know, I can earn a living of sorts. I mean, I think it's important as well to differentiate. You know, well, if you're a tour card holder for the next 2 years, you've got, I think it's 96, that might be 1 or 2 out, 96 events or qualifiers that you can go into. If you can't earn a living from 96 opportunities, you're probably not doing the right thing for yourself. You know, I mean, you don't want to lose first round 96 times, do you? Let's be honest, that would be pretty tough to take. So if you was to do that and still earn a living, are you conning yourself a little bit? I think there has to be a balance between being given a living and earning a living.
The Masters is all changed for next year.
Yeah.
Something that I know we'd spoken about but when did this decision come about? And
we've been thinking about it for a while. And we decided that the time was right. We need the Masters to be a little bit elevated status-wise, and we've got some quite exciting things that we're talking about at the moment regarding it. It's not just going to be flat top 32 in the world, which we haven't, in our communications about that event, we haven't said it's the top 32 in the world. People are assuming it's going to be, which is, I understand why they're assuming that. But it's not going to be. We're going to be a bit more creative with it.
I'm guessing the bit on the PDC website was a mistake then and was updated, because at one point it did say that, which I think everyone got.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing there'll be an opportunity for every tour card holder to play.
Correct.
Now, looking at the calendar, that doesn't leave you a lot of time between the end of Q School and the Masters to fit something in.
Yeah. It's another challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we will do.
On that decision, obviously, beforehand, the last couple of years, the Masters had almost been the Premier League playoff.
Yeah.
Then when that was taken away, did you feel the Masters lost a lot?
No, not really, because the Masters never had that before. That only really had that, I think, twice. 3 times?
3 after,
3 maybe, if you include COVID.
Yeah.
So that was never a fundamental feature of the Masters. It just kind of evolved into that because of the way the calendar dropped. But then when it switched this year to the first night of the Premier League being before the Masters, that decision was taken out of our hands anyway. So I'm happy with that. The Premier League was never 7 or 9 players plus the Masters.
No.
It just so happened that for a couple of years we were in a point where there weren't obvious choices. So it's like, well, it makes sense to take the most recent winner.
Well, you brought it up there, the obvious choices. Going forward to next year, I know it's still young, but is there any thought of a format change for the Premier League yet?
No.
No.
At the moment we're happy to continue with the format as it is, which I'm sure everybody watching your show will be delighted with.
So it would just be 8 again for next year. No change.
The plan at the moment. Yeah.
Is there? Could it change? Because
it will change again.
No,
it will change again when we feel the current format has outlived its usefulness. As it has changed every other time, we felt the existing format has outlived its usefulness, and that will come. People get very excited about this, and they don't look at it from everybody's perspective. They only look at it from their own perspective. And if you watch it 17 weeks running, I accept you could see a lot of repetition. However, if you attend the venue once, or if you watch it 4 or 5 times, which actually most people do, then it's not like that. If you have a bet on it, there's more betting opportunities. If you have a favourite player, there's more opportunity to see your favourite player. If you just like watching the top players in the world, there's more chances to watch the top players in the world. There's loads of arguments on both sides of the coin. So at some point, the current format will have come to the end of the road.
Yeah. What I was going to say is, with only 8, and there's probably a genuine maybe 12 that are in the mix right now, so your decision...
There's got to be way more than that. I mean, look, as we see here now, there's 5 major trophies to be handed out before then. So there's 100 players who are going to play in those events. There's 100 players in the mix.
No, I wouldn't say that, but...
Anyone who turns up at Ali Pali who wins Ali Pali is in the mix. There'll be 96 players at Ali Pali.
I'm not sure 96 can win Ali Pali, if I'm being honest.
But might be a flu epidemic.
No, it was just interesting to see. Also, there's a couple of sour bits in the sport. Now, I appreciate these don't involve the PDC, but the knock-on effect does. Are you concerned that these cases that are coming up are tarnishing the sport? And like I say, it's not in the PDC, but one now involves a PDC player is the issue.
Yeah, it's difficult because clearly our integrity and our reputation are of paramount importance to us progressing this sport. And taking this sport forward is good for everybody, whether it's we're the market leaders in this sport, and there are other people who will benefit from that. So those other people need to do things the right way and make sure that they are upholding the right principles. Now, I will say that the integrity issues that are currently affecting the sport, I don't believe are the fault of the organisers of that tournament. I think they are going through the right processes, they've got the right governance, they've got the right education in place for the players, etc. I think that's, and I'm not going to prejudge any situation whether someone's innocent or guilty.
Of course.
But if somebody was to be found guilty, I think that's on them, not on the organisers of that tournament. But it is a lesson to us all not to be complacent and to remember that integrity and reputation is our number one asset.
Like you say, no one's been found guilty yet, but if a player is found guilty, does this need to be now a big ban to say to everyone else that this isn't acceptable?
Well, that's a question for the DRA, but historically, anyone who's guilty of jeopardising the integrity of a sport does receive a large suspension, yeah.
On the DRA, and again, I read a lot on social media, and I'm actually in this camp as well, to a point. Now, as the sport grows and gets better, and like you say, levels of professionalism, does the DRA need to do more in terms of speed that they deal with things? Because one of the incidents in question, they said they were made aware of it in September,
yeah,
and then nothing's done with for a year.
It looks that way, but it isn't that nothing's done with. It's that everything's a process. There has to be a period of information gathering. There has to be a period of research. People are asked questions. They're allowed a certain amount of time to come back on that. I accept it looks like it has been dealt with slowly, and in an ideal world, it would be dealt with much more quickly. But these are complicated issues, and they require a huge amount of investigation into a lot of paperwork and a lot of historical records, both digital and interviews that need to take place. So it's not easy just to knock them out in a day.
No, I appreciate that.
Police with X thousand officers who can be thrown at something. It's something that. Yes, obviously you'd like it to be done quickly, but especially when it starts to involve other organisations like the Gambling Commission and things like that, and the police, then all these different stakeholders can slow the process down.
And obviously, you're massively involved in football, and I just look at it, if the FA took that long or whatever, then obviously...
It's easier for the FA, though, because they are judge, jury and executioner.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily... They have some instances where the police might be involved or a third party might be involved, and then they drag out. If you're talking about like an appeal over a red card, that's just three people sit in a room, watch the video and decide if the appeal's acceptable or not. This is way...
No, I understand that. But even like the level of, they don't publish their cases, like there's been no cases published for nearly 18 months. Now, people are fully aware because they're friends with players that have been fined, but that information just seems to be kept so cloak and dagger.
Yeah, it's a fair point. It's not intentional like that. It's just that the processes need to be tightened up in that respect.
The world tickets. We spoke in Poland, and you said they wouldn't go on general sale.
No,
and they didn't. Again,
no, didn't get anywhere near
record numbers of people trying to get on. First of all, that's immense for the sport. The backlash for you guys is obviously there's a lot of disappointed people.
I mean, but if you look at recently with Oasis and things like that, this isn't a darts problem.
No,
this is an industry problem.
I agree.
We had the same number of people trying to access World Championship tickets as they're trying to buy Glastonbury tickets. Glastonbury are selling 300,000 tickets. We're selling like 80,000 or whatever it is. It's so difficult to get that process exactly right. If you're a ticket company, your technology has to be so advanced, and also the people who are trying to cheat that system are so advanced. It's very easy for people to throw words around like bots and stuff without really understanding what they mean. Don't forget as well that a lot of the tickets you see on resale sites don't exist. They're people hedging. They're selling a ticket for £1,000. They're trying to sell a ticket for £1,000. As soon as they sell it for £1,000, they go and try and buy it for £800 and make £200 profit. That's how it works.
Yeah.
They're not sat there with a desk full of tickets and they're listing them on StubHub or Viagogo. That is not how it works. People are going on there and advertising inventory they don't have that they then try and source to make a profit on. So don't be fooled by that, and also don't just assume that because you see a ticket listed for £600, £700, £800 that anybody's going on there to pay that much for it. I would love to know how many people came to Ali Pali last year with a normal ticket in their hand and had paid £300, £400, £500, £600, £700 for it. I don't think it'll be very many. I accept if you go on a resale site and you see a £60 ticket for £90, £100, you might think that's worth it. That's worth it. I'm happy to spend the extra 40 quid because I know I'm going to get one. But there's a lot of grey in that world of black and white of ticketing, a lot of grey. Nevertheless, it is clear that the demand for the World Championship tickets is way in excess of the current level of supply. So we have to look at how we can balance that out and also make sure that we're being as fair as we can to the people who are, the loyal fans of the sport.
Just picking this one back up, obviously, on the tickets, from the match play, you guys did a great job at identifying resellers and counting those tickets and put them back. Is that something that you're making a big effort to beat?
Yeah, that work just carries on in the background. It's so difficult, though, It's actually easier to do once the tickets have been fulfilled, which will be early December. But also, don't forget this year we brought in a limit that you could only buy for 4 sessions.
Yeah.
The most number of, say, table seats you could buy in total was 24. So what we had in the past were customers who purchased 50 or 60 tickets, so they were really easy to identify.
Yeah.
Now, if you bought like 14 or 16, there might be two groups or something like that. It's not as obvious. So what we have done by doing that is enable more individuals to buy tickets, because we're not having anybody hoovering up large numbers. And interestingly, we were semi-interested to see if we get any negative pushback on that, restricting people to buying for 4 sessions, which is 2 days. And our thought was, especially if you're coming over from, say, Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, Austria, whatever, it's fair that you might want to go for 2 days because it's your big trip or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're coming from North London or whatever, you're probably just going to go once.
Yeah.
So we thought, right, restrict people to 4 sessions, and then that makes it a bit fairer, save someone hoovering up lots and lots of tickets. And we got 0 complaints about that. So that was quite an interesting learning for us.
On the process of making more, I'm guessing then we are close to going to 128 then?
We are close to that. Yeah. It's not there yet, but we're quite close to that.
2026, is that the goal?
Hopefully,
128?
yeah, hopefully.
TV deals. Are we close to announcements on new TV
We're
deals?
not close to announcements, no, but our talks are ongoing, so we're comfortable with our position on where we are with our broadcast partners. Sky and ITV do a great job for us, great partners across Europe, so we're comfortable where we are at the moment with that.
Yeah, that's one of the main ones that comes up, because is the Sky deal up after this year's World Championship?
This is the last World Championship of the current Sky deal, but the current Sky contract runs till November 2025.
So it's not a massive rush then in terms of. I think people thought it was after
Sky all the time.
Yeah.
We're absolutely fine with where we are on it.
And then just looking ahead for the rest of the year and everything like that. Again, speaking to your guys, ticket sales are incredible. Were you blown away by this upturning thing? I know you spoke about keeping the audience, but it seems like that has happened.
It has happened, and it's really pleasing to see, the numbers in from Leicester and Wolves, because it means that historically those Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights where it all went a bit flat, we won't have that. We want to deliver a premium product every night of the week. For the people in the arena, they don't want to come. You don't want to come here tonight and be sat on like the 3rd table and there's no one behind you.
Yeah.
It's just not going to give you that atmosphere that you've seen on TV or experienced at our bigger events. So it's great to see that, and that's going to enable us to continue growing the events and to continue investing in the growth of the PDC.
Other sports that have evolved and trying to capture a younger audience. I look at cricket, one in particular. They've looked at like quicker formats like the 100 and T20. I'm not saying that obviously 100 darts or anything like that, but are you looking at potential things to capture a younger audience? It seems to have like a shorter attention span.
Not in terms of format. I think in terms of format, with darts, there's still people. 5-on-1's what people know and understand and kind of expect. In football you still have to turn up and score more goals than the other team. In cricket you still have to score more runs and concede fewer wickets than the other team. So there are certain fundamentals that we wouldn't want to play with, but the overall way it's packaged and presented is something that we're evaluating. Ultimately a lot of our events look very similar now to what they have done for 10, 12 years or so, and we don't want to become stagnant. So we'll make little tweaks with formats and things like that. We're not looking to mess about with 501. We're not going to ask players to turn up and play round the clock or Shanghai or, something they might play in hockey, or Fight Club. So, that's where we are on that.
And obviously, I spoke on the camera. I forgot this. I actually made some notes for a change because there was loads I wanted to ask you.
You're getting professional, Phil.
Well, every now and then. The women's series didn't go up this year. Is that because you feel it's not developing as quickly as you'd like it, or
no? I think it's just it went up before.
Yeah,
I'm saying it will go up again. So not everything can go up every year. But the women's series, I think we're seeing more competition at the top end now. I think we're seeing more. We're seeing there's always going to be 3 or 4 dominant players, but we're also seeing now another 6 to 8, 10 behind who are actually turning up thinking, I can win today. Which perhaps we hadn't done before. So that's great. We want to see that continue.
Matt, absolute pleasure talking to you here.
Thanks for
your time. I know I pester you. I know I pester you all the time to this, but thank you very much.
Worse pest than you.